3 words just shook the NFL. Maxx Crosby wants out. And if this report is real, the Chicago Bears might suddenly be standing at the front of the line. Before we dive in, hit like, share this with a Bears fan, and subscribe right now so you never miss another major Chicago update. Because today is not just another rumor day. This is one of those moments that can quietly change the entire direction of a franchise. And here's the question that every Bears fan should be asking right now. Are the Bears finally ready to make the kind of aggressive move that real contenders make? The biggest and loudest story starts with a bombshell report from respected NFL insider Jay Glazer. According to Glazer, Raiders superstar pass rusher Maxx Crosby is ready to move on from Las Vegas. Not frustrated. Not monitoring the situation. Ready to be done. The message is simple and brutal. He does not want to go through another rebuild. Think about that for a second. This is one of the most relentless defensive players in football. A leader. A tone setter. A guy who plays through pain, through losing seasons, through chaos. And now, for the first time, the door is clearly open. And make no mistake, this isn't a soft rumor floating around social media. Glazer flat out said this is Crosby's decision. That changes everything. The Raiders are staring straight at another reset. New direction. New structure. New timeline. And Crosby is entering the part of his career where chasing a championship finally matters more than surviving another organizational rebuild. From a football perspective, it makes sense. From a business perspective, it makes even more sense. If you are Las Vegas, this is the exact moment you consider moving a star before his value begins to slide. Elite edge rushers in their late 20s still bring massive returns. Once that number turns into the 30s, the market changes fast. Now here is where the Bears come crashing into the conversation. Chicago is desperate for impact pass rush. Not depth. Not rotational help. Impact. Game-changing pressure. The kind of defender that flips third downs, closes fourth quarters, and completely alters how offenses have to game plan. Maxx Crosby is that guy. And suddenly, for the first time in a long time, he might actually be obtainable. Early in the process, people are already throwing out wild numbers about what it would take to land him. Some believe the price could be massive. Others believe the market will be more realistic once teams actually sit down and talk. But here is the real emotional tension for Bears fans. You finally have a young quarterback you believe in. You finally have a coaching staff you trust. You finally have a roster that looks like it is entering a true competitive window. So how aggressive should this front office really be? Because adding a player like Maxx Crosby does not just help your defense. It changes your identity. It sends a message to the locker room. It tells the league that Chicago is no longer building. Chicago is coming. Now let's shift to the other major storyline that quietly carries just as much long-term impact. DJ Moore finally broke his silence about the season-ending play that still sits in the stomach of Bears fans. The overtime interception against the Rams. The play that ended the season. DJ Moore confirmed what the team has consistently said behind the scenes. It was a miscommunication. No blame. No excuses. Just a breakdown between quarterback and receiver in the biggest moment. He didn't throw Caleb Williams under the bus. He didn't deflect responsibility. He didn't create drama. And that matters. Because leadership inside a developing locker room is fragile. One ugly quote can fracture trust. One emotional outburst can snowball into something bigger. Instead, DJ Moore handled it like a professional. But what really grabbed attention was not the play itself. It was what he said about his future. DJ Moore made it clear that he wants to stay in Chicago. He said directly that he told Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson in exit meetings that he loves being with the Bears and fully bought into this team once Ben Johnson arrived. That is powerful. Players feel direction. Players feel competence. Players feel stability. And for the first time in a long time, Chicago is offering all three. But here is where the business side crashes into the emotional side of the story. DJ Moore's contract is heavy. Very heavy. His upcoming cap number is simply too large for a roster that still has major holes on defense, needs pass rush, needs secondary help, and still needs flexibility to keep building around a young quarterback. Which brings us to the uncomfortable truth. Even though DJ Moore wants to stay, something is going to happen with his deal. This is the middle of today's show, and this is your question of the day. Should the Bears restructure DJ Moore and keep him? Or should they seriously explore trading him to free up money and assets? Comment below and make your case. Because there is no escaping this decision. Chicago will not just let his contract sit exactly as it is. The front office will either restructure, move money around, or seriously consider trade conversations. It does not mean DJ Moore is unwanted. It means the roster is evolving. The Bears now have multiple young weapons. They have different ways to build their offense. They are no longer forced to funnel everything through one player just to survive. This is what progress actually looks like. But it also means difficult choices are finally back on the table. And that is a good problem to have. Now let's pivot to the quiet move that almost slipped under the radar but actually matters more than many fans realize. The Bears have officially re-signed offensive lineman Theo Benedet to a one-year deal. He entered the league as an undrafted player out of Canada. No hype. No expectations. No guarantees. And yet he ended up starting multiple games at left tackle in the middle of an NFL season. Even more impressive, he finished among the top offensive tackles in run block win rate. That is not a fluke. That is functional, valuable depth. And for a team still building its offensive line foundation around a young quarterback, depth is survival. It allows competition. It allows injury insurance. It allows development without panic. Theo Benedet is not being brought back as a guaranteed long-term starter. But he is being brought back because he earned trust. And trust from a coaching staff is currency. So now, step back and look at today's three real stories together. A superstar defender might be entering the trade market. Your top wide receiver publicly wants to stay, but his contract must be adjusted. And the front office continues quietly building depth and flexibility along the offensive line. This is not random. This is roster shaping. This is a front office positioning itself for something bigger. Which brings us right back to where we started. Maxx Crosby. If the Bears truly believe their competitive window is opening now, not 2 years from now, not someday in the future, but now, how aggressive do you really want Ryan Poles to be? Because players like Crosby do not become available often. And when they do, the teams that hesitate usually watch someone else change their future. This is not about winning the offseason. This is about deciding whether Chicago is ready to move from rebuilding stories to contender expectations. And I'll leave you with one final thought. If Maxx Crosby really is on the move, and the Bears sit this one out, how will we feel when he is wrecking quarterbacks for another contender next January? Because moments like this are how franchises separate hope from action.